Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CM Performing Arts Center's online live speaker series, CM Spotlight. I'm Tim Pappalardo. I'm your host, and thank you for joining me this afternoon. You're probably thinking CM Spotlight is always on Thursdays at 7:30. Well, it's Saturday at 1 o'clock. So we thought we'd have a special conversation this weekend since tomorrow, CM is launching the first ever live broadcast of CM's presentation of Journey, Cross, and Crucifixion. For over 33 years, CM has visited parishes across Long Island and in Queens, and today we're going to hear how it all started. So let me start the talk off by introducing CM's Executive Director, Alyse Aprino. Hey, Alyse.
Hello.
Long time no see.
I know.
We've been seeing a lot of each other this week.
I'm almost like a regular, I feel like.
You are a regular. Absolutely. So how are you doing today?
Good.
It's a great day here.
Yeah, the sun is really like trying to make its way out, which will be awesome. So.
Yeah, after this interview, you have to go outside, get some sun, get some air. We all need air. I feel like air is the best thing right now.
I know. I've become one of those neighborhood walkers. So yeah, every day when it's nice, I try to run out of there, unless it's raining. But
Yeah.
But it makes such a difference to walk around and get the air in, and
Absolutely.
Feels good.
So how are things going down at the theater? I know we talked about this on Thursday, but what's new? What's going on?
Things are great. The events that are happening right now have changed our culture. We're doing great. Luckily, we're very fortunate. But we're a performing arts center. And so it's almost lit a fire under creativity. We're doing so many things to try to make sure that we're keeping in touch with our community, which means the most to us. Bringing things to our patrons who maybe need a little positive thinking or just a moment, a break. We're so excited to announce that we're going to do this live stream of Journey, which we've never done before, which is amazing. Like you said already, 33 years of our history has been, Journey. So that's really amazing. Then we have this really awesome new series that we launched the other day. It's going to be a live cabaret, which we're so excited about. Hopefully that'll be a series, and we'll be able to bring that to you once a week at least, if not more. And then we also have this great series, which has been so much fun with Spotlight, CM Spotlight. And we get to talk to alumni, which has been great, reconnect with people. So we're very fortunate, and we're very lucky to have the people who support us, who believe in us.
You said it. You said it all, at least. I mean, it's wonderful. I have notes on my table here to not touch my face. I am all touching my face. So it's like, don't touch your face, and I'm like touching it all over. My goodness. So Alyse, CM has some fundraisers that are going on right now, right? Can you talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. So we are doing an emergency GoFundMe campaign. The reason for that is, as I said, we are still being as creative as we can. We're still trying to bring programming to people as much as we can. But the reality of it is we have a rent, and, we don't own our building, and we have bills. We have our light bill and our heat and air conditioning. So we are going to need that extra support as well, not only from your hearts, but also, that monetary support, so that we can keep those doors open, especially since, as of right now, we still don't know when we're going to get the official word of when we're going to open. Mm-hmm. So it might be a month. At this point, we've already been closed almost a whole month. So those bills are going to start to pile up, and that's really when we're going to look to the monetary support of people as well. So we have that GoFundMe running right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say thank you to everybody who has already donated to the GoFundMe page. We really appreciate it. And if you, after today's talk with all of our friends and family from Journey, if you feel that you can donate, it could be $1, it could be $5, it could be $10, anything that you feel that you could do at this time would be fantastic.
Absolutely. So. And it's so humbling, actually. You do that And we know that we're a special part of people's hearts at CM. It's the connections. It's the things that, Rob talked about, Robert Anthony Jones. It's the things that Nikki talked about. You have those connections with patrons and alumni, but it's so humbling when you never want to be in this position. But when you are, and you see those names that are on there, it doesn't matter what amount they put down. It touches you, and it brings you to tears, to see how much we mean to the organization, and we want to be there for them, not just that we need it's both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Alyse, for that information on what's going on at CM. Thank you, everybody, again, who has donated. And we're going to jump right into talking about Journey Across the Crucifixion today. I'm so excited to bring everybody together. I've known everyone who's going to be on this panel today for a very, very long time. So I'm going to start by introducing one of CM's founding members. He served as the chair of CM's board of directors for a while. And if you've gone to any of the services that we've done with Journey, you probably will remember him as the leader of song, standing there with his guitar, and hopefully today he'll be standing there with his guitar too. Please welcome Brian Schnurman. Hey.
Everybody, great to see you.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
So the next guest she's a fantastic lady who's also served on CM's board of directors. And when I think of Journey, I could hear her voice. I could see her face. I love working with her, and she's a joy. So please welcome the narrator, who has, I think she's been the narrator for years. Please welcome Gail Keiser. Hi, Gail.
Hi. Okay. Hi, everybody. I have to get back to this. As you can see, I'm one of those senior citizens, so I'm not technically very well. Anyway.
And then our last guest, she currently actually is a board member. She's a beautiful singer, performer. I would love to bring her on and welcome her. Her name is Ellen Dumlau. Hi. Rising from. Hi, everybody. How is everyone doing this afternoon?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Thank you guys
really
all.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to CM Spotlight. I'm glad we're getting to talk about Journey and talk about this journey that this program has taken with CM. So, Gail, just to start, how are you doing? How are you and your family doing?
We're doing good. As you can see, I'm one of those in Jeopardy generations. I'm over the age limit, not saying how old I am. So I've been pretty much staying in the house with my dog and being a creative cook, making the best I can out of what I have. And that's about it. I'm social distancing as best I can and haven't been out that much. And I hope everybody else does that too and stays safe. Like Alyse, I've been taking advantage of the nice weather and trying to walk a mile every day with my dog. But when it rains, I stay home. But I'm just looking forward to all this being over soon.
I totally hear you. I absolutely hear you. Hey, Brian, so how have you been passing the time? I saw last night that you were playing your guitar and singing.
I did. I've been thinking about doing that for a while now, and finally got myself motivated last night to do a little recording. But just keeping myself busy around the house. Hopefully my yard will look better this year than last year. Already been out doing some weeding and weed and feed on the lawn and so forth. So keeping busy, some projects. It's been fun.
I feel like I have no excuse. We have a lot of free time on our hands, work ends, and I have the benefit of working from home. So being able to step out the door and doing some things that I normally don't get to do, and I get to take advantage of. Having that fresh air, having the time, and then so I'm thinking about July's going to come, and I'm still not going to have the bushes, with the leaves out of it, but it's still going to look like that, But taking that time to definitely enjoy. So. Ellen, how are you doing? Are you singing at home? I hope the neighbors are banging the wall, Ellen, stop singing.
No, I've just been very quiet, singing to myself. I'm doing okay. I'm here in New York City in Washington Heights. I'm on the 16th floor. Charles and I have been self-isolating. We only went out once to food shop, and then I come back here. and I don't know how long I'll be here. I
Mhm.
keep in touch with my mom and Jay, and they're doing okay. And I'm just navigating this new way, to be socially distant and spiritually connected. I think that's what the goal is.
That's great.
I'm
Those are
okay.
two very good points. So thank
Uh-huh.
you for sharing that. To our audience who's watching today, if you have any questions, you can go to CM's YouTube page and write a comment, or you can go to the Facebook page and you can chime in, and we'll bring your comment on to the show. So I'm just going to just show you exactly how that looks. So Matt visited us, and he said he loves this crew so much, and then Brian and Brendan Noble said, "It's Brian's guitar." So guys, so please chime in with some questions. We'll look at it throughout the broadcast and bring them in. So please, definitely, we'd love to have you be a part of the talk today. So, Journey Cross and Crucifixion. It is in its 33rd year. Brian, what is the history behind CM creating Journey, and how did it start? Let's see, Brian, you there?
Yeah, I just got back.
Okay, there you are. Hi, Brian. So the question I asked was, so Brian, what's the history behind CM creating Journey? How did it start?
Well, Noel was youth minister at St. John de Palmacene in Bohemia, and as part of the youth ministry program there, he combined his love of ministry, his love of theater, and his Hispanic background. Noel is actually a Cuban refugee who came over in 1963. And the Hispanic culture, there he is, the Hispanic culture, he was used to the reenactment of the Stations of the Cross through the streets with people actually, carrying the cross. And so that's what moved him to create this up here in the Rockville Centre Diocese.
So my understanding is that Noel and his partner, Joe, had written this piece together.
Yep, the two of them wrote it. I think actually there was a bunch of us at the time that were kind of helping with the editing and so forth. I remember those days, and sweating over a particular line. Should it be this way or should it be that way? But very happy with the way that it came out 33 years ago, and we're still doing it.
So, the story of Journey Cross and Crucifixion, or the story, it follows the Stations of the Cross. And I know, Gail, you talk about this in your speech as the narrator, that people who couldn't read would go to the church and would see the stations along the wall, and they could follow the process as Jesus was on his way to Calvary to be crucified. So that's true, right? Is that why those things were created in the church?
Yes, because people at the time, they couldn't read, and they wanted them to be able to see something, because most people could see the different stations. There are actually 14, and it does follow the path of Jesus as he goes through the journey. And the narration goes with each particular station. And as we process around the church, and there's usually a freeze or a pause between, so that they can take in what's happening at that particular station.
Got it. Okay. So I would ask you, Gail, I would ask you, why do you think this is important still to be shown today?
I think it's important to be shown today because actually the pastor of my own church said, why do you still do this? You've been doing it for so long. And I'm personally not Roman Catholic. I'm Protestant. I belong to a congregational church. And yet I'm still doing this 30 years later after I started. I think the reason that it's important to show it today is because people are so involved in their screens like we are today, and other things, that this is a real presentation. It's like believing what you see. It's a service. It touches you. I remember narrating one particular service, and Jesus went for the second fall, and one particular woman actually reached out to touch him and comfort him from the congregation. So you could tell that she was immersed in this particular thing. It brings it home. It makes it real. It gives us the message again.
So you say it's like falls. It's falls in the church. So they're literally moving around the church. It's a full interactive presentation.
Full interactive presentation, yes. There are followers, there are soloists, there's Mary, there's Veronica, there's Simon, there's Joseph of Arimathea, and each one tells the story from their perspective. And I would say maybe 10 years ago, Noel and Joe added in the head soldier actually speaking and giving it from his perspective, which is totally different, obviously, than from followers of Jesus and his apostles. So, each year it's made more real. It's updated. It never gets old. It never gets old.
So, Ellen, I would ask you: is Journey for all ages?
Is Journey for all ages? I would say, yes, it's for all ages. It's I would say yes if it is it's the story. It is a story of the greatest love story ever told, right? And we as faithful people, it really is up to the parents if they want to bring their children to something that will demonstrate, it's journey, cross, and it's a crucifixion. So, it's all theatrical. Obviously, we don't actually crucify, but if you can explain that to your children and in a prayerful way, it's for them to also enter into this reflective season before Easter, and to explain also that there is an Easter after Good Friday. There is an Easter. So yes, it is for faithful families. It is also good for children to participate in it too when we have the actors. I thought it was wonderful to have the children with us, like a town. It was almost like the town with us, and that was always good to see the families get involved. We had mothers, fathers, we had their kids with us, and we were going through the process of praying through this. So, yes.
Yeah, so because I know because I've been very privileged to be a part of this service. It's wonderful to see parents coming with their children to see it and to be experiencing it together. But then also those who are part of the service, who are actually who are ministers of the service, bringing their entire family, whether someone is playing the violin, someone is helping set up, or a parent is there walking and being a part of it with their child and taking that all in. I think it's actually a really great, time to, connect with your family as well too. So I would ask Brian, did Journey play a role in creating CM as an organization?
Yeah, the whole beginnings of CM, or Creative Ministries, the Journey, Cross, and Crucifixion was our first program. And so in many ways, for those of us, especially who have been doing this for over 30 years, it is the core and heart of what the organization is. When Noel first started it, it was a faith-based organization that was presenting theatrical programs with a message, things like High Tops and Children of Eden and Journey, Cross, and Crucifixion. Over the years, the organization has evolved, but from the very beginning, this was the core and heart of what we were all about.
So I assume that the majority of people who are involved are volunteers. Alyse, is that the case?
That is true. Journey has always been done by people who are volunteers. All of our shows, our actors are always volunteers. That's something that stayed true to the core of CM. As Brian said, from the very beginning, a lot of the principles of Journey are still installed in who we are today. So it's also something very special for people to make the commitment. Journey is the same way that we would have a run of a performance at the theater is the way that Journey runs. But it's done in different churches and done in different places. And then we end bringing it back to CM at the end of the season.
Got it. So, Gail, I would ask you, if I was to walk in to see Journey service, what am I going to see?
What are you going to see when you walk in to see Journey? You're going to see, well, there's been a discussion at CM between different people, whether it's a service or a performance. I always maintain that it's both because the quality of the people giving the presentation, and as Alyse said, they're actors, they're family actors, they're not necessarily main stage, but it's very important to us that we present the best possible program that we can for you, and at the same time be prayerful, which is the ultimate goal of the service. So when they walk into the service, they'll be introduced to the crowd, the people that are following Jesus. This is it's like a flashback. Everything that we're talking about has already happened. It starts as a flashback, and then we show you what happened previously so that we get to the point of Jesus's crucifixion. There are monologues from key characters: Mary, his mother; John, his youngest disciple; Simon, who carried the cross for him; Joseph of Arimathea, who was responsible for his burial, who was a priest of the Sanhedrin; and Veronica. She was the young woman that stepped out of the crowd courageously. She could have been beaten, and she wipes his face. You see the soldiers. I'm very impressed. The head soldier, you can see where he starts out as a Roman soldier and he's whatever. And by the end, you can see that he's kind of awakened, is the best word I can think of, to see what all of this has really meant. And as Ellen or someone said, I think it was Ellen, out of the darkness comes light. So you look at this happens on Good Friday, and we do show the whole thing through the crucifixion. So as Ellen said, I think it's important for people to judge how old their kid is and explain, what's happening. And afterwards, the people in the troupe do stand in the back, and frequently we've had parents bring a little kid up and see, that's the person who was Jesus. It's okay. It was just a reenactment. So we do account for that. The people do stand in the back and are able to talk to people. But what they're going to see is a journey. That's why it's called Journey, Cross, and Crucifixion. And it happens on Good Friday, which is darkness. And then there's a resurrection on Easter Sunday, and we're coming into the light.
Got it. Brian, you are the leader of song, and I've seen you open up this prayer service. Would you mind doing your opening for us?
Sure. The opening, it's kind of interesting. As we go into each church, we have to modify how we do the service based on the architecture of the building that we're working with. And so we're all racing from work to get to a service, and we get to the church, and there's all kinds of stuff that we have to do. And then all of a sudden we're supposed to be able to just start to pray. And I realized early on that it wasn't just the ministers of the service that were experiencing this, but all of the families and parishioners who were coming to the service were also coming from 1,000 different places with a to-do list a mile long that they had to get back to. And miraculously, somehow, we were supposed to just turn a switch and start praying together. And so I always take time at the beginning of the service to ask them to open up their hearts to God, to put away the to-do lists, to ask God to enter their hearts. And as I am really leading them in calming themselves down and starting in prayer, I'm also telling them how all of the ministers of the service, which could be 20 to 40 people, are getting ready downstairs, and they are praying at the same time, praying that God uses them as his messengers, praying that he opens the hearts of the congregation. And then one of the things that I do is I love this one particular prayer song called Sacred Silence, and I'll just play the refrain for you. But the whole point is to just slow people down and have them recognize that God is going to speak to them in the silence of their hearts. And if their mind is racing, they won't be able to hear it. silence, holy ocean, gentle water washing over me. Help me listen, Holy Spirit, come and speak to me. And so again, just that idea of embrace the silence, slow yourself down, and allow God to speak to you through this service.
Very powerful, Brian. Just that song, very, very powerful. Way to connect, way to focus in on what's going to be happening, and to just open your minds and to take it all in. So, Brian, at what point did this program, so it started in one place, I think if I'm right, St. Ignatius, right?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I was involved in youth ministry at St. Ignatius with Noel. That's actually where I grew up, in my home parish, when I met him. And then also he became youth minister at St. John Nepomucene in Bohemia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so long ago that I don't remember if we did Journey at St. Ignatius or it started at St. John's. But you know what, whether or not it's 33 years ago or 35 years ago, this youth ministry program or that is really not as important as knowing that it started from prayer. It started from a community of youth and young adults that were seeking their own faith and awakening their own faith with Noel. And this gave them a way to express their faith as well as provide service and reach out to people.
So, Brian, when did it become so big that it needed to, add, which basically became Troupes? So,
yeah.
When did that happen?
Well, we started again within the youth ministry program, and I do believe, Ellen, you might remember, but I do believe that we did do a few local parishes at that time. But once we started Creative Ministries, which again, it's 33 years ago, 35 years ago. I don't remember. It's over 30 years ago. That's when we developed some marketing material. We sent mailings out to parishes, and the response was overwhelming. At which point we did a whole lot of recruitment, and we started back then with 5 troupes. There had to have been over 100 people that were ministering this service. And again, many of the people who started have been doing this for 30 years. And over the course of time, people have dropped off and new people have come in. And we still have, typically, all of the services are typically sold out. We don't have enough people to actually provide services for all the people who want it. So right now we are ministering with 2 troupes, one that's located in Nassau County, one in Suffolk County. And if anybody who's watching this would like to join us, I'm sure we'll be providing some extra information about that in a little while.
Absolutely. So, Gail, I would ask you, I touch my face again. I keep touching my face. Don't touch your face unless your hands are clean. So, Gail, I would ask you, because this service appears in so many different locations, it appears in so many different churches. The churches are not the same. They're not built by the same builder. They are all different. So what happens when we get to a church?
Well, when we get to a church, first of all, the call time is an hour and a half before the service. A lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of preparation goes into this. There is a basic pattern that we follow where we put the particular stations, but of course, with each church being different structures, some have center aisles, some don't, some are challenges, some have altar rails, some don't. Some are big, some are small. Every single church, we need to do what we call blocking for that particular church. There is a basic structure, like I said. The crowd is normally here. The head soldier enters this way. Joseph of Arimathea is in that area. Veronica's in that area. but sometimes it has to be changed and it has to be moved depending on the size. Sometimes we have altars that have steps. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're flat. Sometimes they're all marble. So all of this needs to be taken into consideration every single church that we go to, so that we can have the best possible physical appearance and presentation, so that the congregation can see everything clearly and that it can be projected. We need to check with sound. So it's a very complicated process. It's not just walk in and set up, here we are. So all the people involved, as Brian said, probably 40 or 50, the musicians, the people with monologues, whatever, everyone needs to be there an hour and a half before, so that we can run through the whole service and put people where they need to be and work out any possible glitches with sound or anything else. It's when you get to see the actual service, to me, it's as good as a production that you would see in a theater, because we have accomplished all of those things, fine-tuned it, and made it as perfect as it can be in a particular church.
So it's safe to say that Journey takes a village to make this happen.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Because I've sat in on vocal rehearsals, and we are making sure that these what's the word, harmonies are like spot on, that the emotion behind what the characters are saying are there, that that you are, because this is not not going to touch my face, because this is not a normal stage presentation. You're able to look people right in the eye, and
Absolutely.
You're able to connect with people in an audience. And I think even more so than when you see something on stage, because they are literally like right here, and you can see the emotion in their eye and how you connect with them. And I've always thought that it's incredible to see in person, and then to understand the amount of talent that is in that room, in that church, that is bringing everyone together, that's playing the music, that is helping us create the vision that that Noel and Joe had so long ago. It's just mind-boggling to think about how many people and how many fantastically talented people that we work with. So I've gotten a chance to play some characters that are incredibly emotional. Brian, I assume at some point because it does take a village, and everybody sometimes gets thrown into doing different things. I've assumed one time, someone said, Brian, brother, we need you to play Joseph. He's not here. His car broke down on the side of the road, and we need you to play Joseph. Has that happened before, Brian, for you, or for Ellen, or for, Alyse, we can say that for you too. Like, has that happened? And like, what is it like being thrown into something so emotional and so strong?
Well, first, let me say, Tim, that was a wonderful imitation of Noel.
Thank you,
brother.
Thank you, brother.
And yeah, when you've been doing it for 35 years, you've done so many of the roles that you kind of get ready to be thrown in and do whatever is needed. And it's a wonderful thing about the community of people who do this together is there's no egos. Everybody's there praying together, and whatever needs to get done, people will jump in and do it. And it's just a wonderful group of people. Tim, you talked about having people, right there. And, from my position as leader of song, one of the things that I do with people in prepping is I encourage them to put themselves into the story and not allow it to be an actor and audience kind of a thing, but really put themselves into the prayer service and ask themselves how they would have responded, not to look away from the pain in Jesus's face, but to actually look into that and get a sense for the sacrifice and the gift and the love that Christ gave for all of us. And because I'm up in the sanctuary area and I can see things from afar, you see people and the tears and how moved they are. So often we don't get a chance to actually speak with them, or I don't. But you just get to the point where you are relying on God to touch people, and you help plant the seed, and then He waters it and takes it and allows people to grow through that. But because it is so intimate and so close with the congregations, the impact you whether it be as an actor or as a person in the congregation, there is a connection that is palpable.
So, Alyse, I would ask you, if someone is interested in joining Journey in our next season, which is 2021, how does someone get involved?
Sure. So if you're interested and Journey comes to your parish, which is usually what happens, then there are always people who are in it who you can talk to at the end. You can speak to anybody who was involved in that service and let them know. And there's always a tearaway sheet in that program, which you can leave your information, and then the troop leaders will get back to you. It's unique with Journey because it's very seasonal. Other than that, you can also always contact info@cmpac.com and let us know that this is something that you're interested in being involved in. And you can do that at any point in the year. Some people are touched at the end of the service, and so they right away want to let us know that they're interested in the following year. But even if it turns out that it is very close to Lent, because that's what's unique about this as well. We start with Journey at the very beginning of Lent. But if you think about it, they rehearsed for about 6 to 8 weeks prior to that, which is New Year's Eve. So no one's really thinking about Easter at Christmas, except Journey. So really, if anything at any point in time makes you think, wow, maybe there's something that I want to do this Lent. Maybe you're a person who enjoys singing or you enjoy storytelling. You don't really have to be a person that likes to do theater. You don't really have to be a person that is interested in speaking to a crowd. As everyone has said, there are so many facets of being part of Journey. They just need a crowd of people to stand there and be involved. They need musicians. They need people who want to do the other things as well. But at any point in time, if you feel like maybe it's a Lenten service that you want to do, or that's how you want to give back, or that's how you want to focus on things, that info@cmpac you can use all year long. Or if it is at a physical service, you can use that tearaway.
Thank you, Alyse, for sharing that. So I was looking over at our questions section, and we were talking just a moment ago how... Gail, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a point to make.
Yeah.
For people that are out there that are watching and listening, Journey is a Christian service. As I had said previously, I myself am not Roman Catholic, but I'm very involved in this service because it tells the story of Jesus, which is a story that is applicable to all Christians. And as such, where in the beginning we went primarily to Roman Catholic churches because the Stations of the Cross is something that Roman Catholics practice and revere. Basically 30 some years ago when I began narrating, that's basically all we did. But since then we have branched out. We have several non-Roman Catholic different Protestant denominations that have also booked us or asked us to come to their particular church. And in some cases, they have invited other churches around them, because Protestant churches are usually smaller in size than Roman Catholic parishes. So sometimes they have joined with other churches in a particular area to say, we would like to put this on. Specifically thinking of Southampton, we did get to do it this year before the coronavirus shut everybody down, but we had a beautiful little church in Southampton, a Protestant church, and they had invited the surrounding churches to come and participate also. So we need to keep in mind that this is the story of Jesus, the story that's good for all Christians. So we shouldn't we should expand it. We should expand it and reach out as many Christian people as we possibly can. And
that's a great point.
So while we were talking a moment ago about how it takes a lot of people to pull this off. And a good friend of the organization, Bob D, made a comment. He said, "Picture it. I was almost Jesus for one performance. I went to go see my wife play flute and my father-in-law play Simon. And we need you, Bob. We need you to play Jesus." It happens. It takes a village. So, Gail, one of your admirers, Robert Gentleman, he says, "I miss you, Gail." And he also wrote, he says,
too, Rob.
He also wrote, "I'm interested. Is there any openings?"
Oh, he knows what there's an opening for.
Brian. So, Brian, you also, from what people are sharing here in the comments, is that you also lead a joyful service at St. John's in Bohemia. Beautiful hymns, 10:30 Mass. So we're gonna plug you, Brian, people to go see you and go hear you sing.
Yeah, I don't lead a service. The Joyful Sound is the name of the choir that sings at the 10:30 Mass.
Oh, cool. So I am going to ask for anybody on the panel here, why do you think, there's two things. Why do you think people return, one, to be a part of the service as a minister? And then the second part, why do you think parishioners return year after year? Who would like to take that question? Or who wants to take half of the question?
I again, when I'm speaking to people before the service and try to explain what they're about to experience, I want to see whether I'm preaching to the choir kind of thing. So I'll ask very often, how many people have seen the service before? And it's often 70 to 90% of the people have come back from previous years. And I would think that it's because it has moved them. It has touched them in a spiritual way deep enough that after a whole year goes by, they remember. And it may not even be at their own parish. Maybe they saw it at their own parish last year, but they found out where they could go to experience the service again, in that next year. And so people come, and I'm assuming it's because, as Gail said, we've been successful in just preparing and providing a service that really touches people.
And I think there's a uniqueness to it.
Mm-hmm.
It is immersive. So, if you're the kind of person who's looking for something a little bit different, it's for you. If you're a person that really loves music, then it speaks to you. It speaks to different people in different ways, and I think people can connect to it in different ways. And I do agree with Brian very much that I think a lot of people have been moved by it, and so it almost becomes tradition for them as well.
So go ahead, Gail, please.
I could say that personally, for me, it centers me during that particular time. It gives me a certain focus, and it centers me on what's to come. And to be quite honest, I enjoy each year getting back together with the people that are in my particular troupe. I mean, we are a family. Most of us don't socialize outside of Journey, but we're all very happy to come back to Journey and spend that time together. So as much as we're giving to the congregations, we're also giving to each other and ourselves with a love and a joy. And it just,
Gail, I was going to ask you a follow-up.
Calms me down for what's to come.
Gotcha. Gail, I would ask you, because you've been a narrator for a while, and I love your voice, and I connect to it. It's like there are moments where I've sat through the service, I'm like, here's where Gail is going to do this inflection, and where I'm going to really connect to this, So while you're standing up there, I mean, you're relaying some very, very deep, important information. Like, what's going on in your head as you're a part of the service?
Well, actually, I try and keep my head blank except for what I'm doing. I try and shut everything else out. As the troupe is singing, "Were You There?" and it's like I know when the music is coming and when it's going to be my time to stand up and start my narration. I usually put my head down and just have a silent prayer to ask God to let me impart these words and obviously not make a mistake. Because they tease me after 30 some odd years, I'm still not what they call off book. I could be if I had to be, but I hang on to those papers because I want to make sure that I get the right words as they were written, because they have the meaning that we want to impart. So I would say that most of the time I'm just in it. You know, I just feel it. I say it. I don't think about it other than what's happening in front of me. I try and close the rest of the world out. And the next time that I actually come back into taking the world is when I'm done, so I can relax a little bit. And I actually sit there, and after lay your burden down, then the congregation itself comes up to venerate the cross. And that's the next time that I kind of get involved. And sometimes it's teary-eyed. Sometimes I leave teary-eyed because you can actually see people coming up and they are literally laying their burdens down. There have been occasions where there have been older people that will kneel to the cross and they have a hard time getting up, and someone's coming and helping them. You can see the genuineness, the emotion on their faces, and even the kids. I mean, sometimes we have confirmation classes that come and whatever, and, they've been required to come, so they may not necessarily, and they get a little jittery. But even when they come up and do their quick swipe, you can tell that it's imparting something to them. Maybe not right at that moment, but maybe later. So watching the congregation is very meaningful to me.
So while you were speaking, one of our people from the audience, Daniel Arberg, he wrote this comment: "It explores the depth of the mystery of Lent on a level you can't find anywhere else. Once you experience it, you are changed forever."
Dan used to play piano for a while.
Yeah. Hi,
Journey.
Dan.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, bro. Let's all give a hi. So, Ellen, I would ask you, you've had the opportunity to play one pretty emotional role, Mary, and a very important character, in Journey Across Crucifixion. There's a moment when Mary gets to hold her son for the last time, and they sing "Come and See."
Yeah.
What is that moment like for you? And then also for, when you're taking it in, what do you think the moment is like for the people who are watching?
Okay, what that moment is like, when you're playing Mary, it's almost like you're tightrope walking, because emotionally you have to be there in that moment, but then you're also thinking, as the person who is playing Mary and praying Mary, you have to sing this pretty powerful song, the Pietà. So as an artist, you're thinking, oh, I have to sit the right way so I can breathe. And sometimes you're crying, so your sinuses are all like acting up. And so you don't want to sound, you want to have those sounds right. But you also want to embrace that moment and create a real moment for people to connect to. And the message of a woman sacrificing her son so that others can live. And for that message, for this time and for any time, I mean, that's part of what makes this the most beautiful love story of our time, of this time, is to lay one's life down for a friend. And for Mary, it's her son, for all of you. And that's the Pietà. And I think mothers connect to it, and what was the second part of the question?
Who cares what the second part was?
Tightrope walking, people. It's not easy.
But
I have to say, we have incredible people playing Mary, people that are playing Mary now. You know, I haven't done it in a long, long time, but when I see them, oh, they get it. And they do such a beautiful job. Beautiful, big voices. It's wonderful. It's very moving.
Kristen Gustafson, amen, Ellen. Amen. And Meredith, she said, beautifully put.
Kristen and Meredith are two of our current Marys.
Yes.
Yes,
So they know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they do.
they absolutely do. Mhm.
So I would put this to the panel. If someone has not seen Journey before, what would you say to someone to see it?
Well, like a 30-second elevator pitch. That's really hard. It's really hard. It's you just have to see it to understand what it's like. I can invite people. I can say you won't be sorry. I can guarantee it. But to try and quote unquote sell it or explain it to somebody ahead of time, I don't really have the words.
I think come with an open mind, and take it in your own way. Don't come expecting anything. I think everybody takes something different from Journey.
Yeah.
It depends on where you are in your life, where you are spiritually. I think it means something different to everyone.
It's the story. The story is not new. They've been hearing the story of the crucifixion and the Via Dolorosa for years, but to experience it in a live format like that, that is the difference maker, and that's what I tell people.
For me, I started with Journey when I was 16 years old, and then have done many different things over the years. But I think, and I don't think of myself as a very religious person. I think I find there are some messages that I really, really connect with. And I think for me, when doing Journey and being a part of it, I think it brought me closer to where what I think God is, and what my belief in just life and living, and the way I think that there's a lot of lessons that I learned from being a better person, from being my grandma passed away on a day that I was playing Journey. Noelle had called me. I was in New York City. I was working on 90 Broad Street, I remember, and Noelle called me, and he said, Tim, we've no pianist this evening. I know you haven't played Journey before, or you haven't played it in 3 years, piano, and we need you to come out and play piano. And I remember I was in New York City. I literally had to take the train home an hour to get to my apartment, to get in the car, to drive out to the church, which was luckily this one was all the way out in Sayville. So thanks, Noelle. And I was an hour away. And I remember walking into the church like at 7. And the service was at 7:45. And I literally had 45 minutes to review the piano music that I hadn't played in literally 3 years. And it's not easy. It's not easy music. Via Dolorosa is not my favorite song to play because it's very hard. It's in a very, very interesting key. I love the song. I just can't play it well. So, and as I was driving out to the service, my grandma died. I got the call that my grandma died that day, and I remember having to do this, to be a part of the service, and I didn't tell anybody because I knew that I needed to do what I was set there to do, what Noelle had asked me to do. He had asked me to do, which is to play. And I remember at the end, I turned to the lady who was leading the song, and I said, I don't know if I told you this. My grandma died. And I remember Lorette Bankston pulling a whole group of people around me and praying with me for dealing with the loss of my grandma, dealing with having that support mechanism of people who I knew some of the members of the troupe, and I didn't know others, but there was literally like 25 people around me, and I remember it being a very moving moment. And so I love Journey, and I love what it brings, and I love the community that it forms, and I love the people that we get to work with and we get to see, and so I think for me the fact that we are still able to do the things and bring Journey to a new audience this year. Like that segue? You like that segue? I'm segueing in. We're able to bring Journey now into a live broadcast, and this is the first time that we've ever done this. So, Alyse, do you want to talk a little bit about why it's so important, why we're doing this broadcast, so I can click myself off the camera real quick, compose my.
Yeah. So, basically, to just follow up, it's part of our history. It's part of who we are. It's where we came from and what formed us into who we are today. And so the thought of everything happening in the world and the idea of not being able to do it this year was one of the first things that we thought of when everything was coming to pass. And so we started to, we started brainstorming immediately of if Journey was cut in its prime, how could we continue it? Because we also felt like at this time of year, it's something that people needed. It's something that everyone's reiterated. It's a light in the darkness. And so luckily, we were trying before we were told that we had to break into smaller groups, and before we were told that we had to social distance, we were trying to figure out a way to maybe bring everybody together really quickly and do a Journey service that maybe we could live stream or maybe we could video and record, and nothing was working. We just kept hitting roadblock after roadblock. And someone reached out to me who was in Journey and said, I don't know if it helps you, but I think the year that Noelle passed away, I think we recorded Journey. And we dug around, we looked through archives and things like that, and we found it. And it is literally the last time Journey was recorded, and possibly the first. We don't really know if it was. We haven't found any others. But so it was really special to us that, everything happens for a reason. And when we needed it, it was like Noelle was there for us again. And so we found it, and we are able to bring it to everybody and not have a break in Journey in our history. And we're super excited about it. It'll be live streamed. There's 4 days of opportunity to see it at 3 times a day. You'll be able to go to our page, and it'll be on cmpac.com/journey. And also, if you find it in your hearts, there will be that GoFundMe donation button underneath it. And if you are moved and if you want to give a goodwill offering, we would be incredibly appreciative at this time.
Alyse, is there, will this only be happening this year?
Who's to say at this point? Hopefully, not under the same circumstances, but why not? You know what I mean? If we're able to live stream next year as well, we're able to do another recording next year. Maybe there'll be another idea that comes along. There's no limit. The sky's the limit at this point for creativity. So it's the first, may not be the last.
Got it. So if I'm watching this service and I believe that this service would be great to have in my parish, how could I find out more information?
Sure. So if you we do the bookings for Journey almost right after we start hearing from people who said, we enjoyed it so much this year, we want you to come back. If you're a parish or any place that wants it, if you're a school, if you're a parish, any denomination, as Gail had said earlier, if you reach out to the theater, you can either email myself, Alyse at cmpac.com, or info@cmpac.com. We will send you out the paperwork for you to fill out with specifics, where we're going, who is interested in being the contact person, and then we start to create a schedule for the following year. It starts the very beginning of Lent. We usually do keep it within the church calendar. It starts the very beginning of Lent and it ends on Good Friday. So anytime in between there is when we have availability to come out to wherever you'd like us.
Thank you, Alyse, for that info. So
Yeah.
I want to jump over into the comment pages. We have a lot of really awesome comments that people have made, and I thought I would share those with everyone. So Matt Giordano, I love this crew so much. Katie Wydick Brown, so excited to see all of these faces here. Ceci Carroll, nice to see you all. Maxine, she's chiming in. Sweet, so sweet to see Noelle. Mark Ossay had chimed in. He's so excited to see the stream tomorrow. It's exciting. Erica, love to you all. Let me scroll down here. Meredith, I always love when Brian sings before that service. Let's see, new comments. Katie says hi. Cecil, she's tearing up listening to Ellen portraying Mary as an experience that almost defies words. Ellen, you expressed it so well. And then Kristen, of course, she chimed right in. You're 100% correct. So, well, leading with that, Ellen, since people are giving the clap here to you, I think we lost Alyse, but we'll move in. We have a special treat. Ellen will be performing a song that we use to close out the service. We Are Called. And what's cool about it is that I had Brian. I called Brian last night, and Brian recorded the guitar music that Ellen is going to be using to be singing the song today. So thank you, Brian, for doing that. Very much appreciate that. Ellen, well, actually, so while Ellen's doing, well, Brian, I'll ask Brian to say this so that Ellen can get ready. Brian, can you tell us about the song and why this song closes the service?
We Are Called is the name of the song, and I think that basically it is an encouragement to respond to what you just experienced, that this was not just something that happened 2,000 years ago, but it's happening today, that gift of love from Christ is given to us today, and that we are then called to respond to that love in kind and offer that love to the people who are around us. And so the words of the song are very much calling us to respond and not just leave it there in the church.
Thank you, Brian. So, ladies and gentlemen, We Are Called, sung by Ellen Dumlau.
Thank you. And I would encourage everybody who knows this song to sing along where you are. This is a song that everybody sings. So here we go. Forgive me, I'm not that technologically savvy. So, and just let me know that you can hear everything. Come live in the light, shine with the joy and the love of the Lord. We are called to be light for the kingdom, to live in the freedom of the city.
You left it in the car.
We are called to act with justice. We are called to love tenderly. We are called to serve one another, to walk all hatred and blindness will be no more. We are called to act with justice. We are called to love tenderly. We are called to serve one another, to walk humbly with God. Sing, sing a new song. Sing of that great day when all will be one. God will reign, and we'll walk with each other as sisters and brothers, united in love. We are called to act with justice. We are called to love tenderly. We are called to serve one another, to walk humbly with God. We are called
To act with justice.
we are called to love tenderly.
We are
Know your call, serve one another,
to walk
Humbly with God.
humbly with God.
Yeah.
Yay.
There you go.
Ellen,
Nice job, Ellen.
beautiful job. This is so moving. So while you were singing, we were just putting everyone's comments up. It's such a powerful and uplifting call to action at the end of the service. Oh,
Right.
Sing it, woman.
From the epicenter, people. From the epicenter.
Thank you, Ellen. You totally made my day. Peace and love to all. Oh, fantastic. So, with that, we've been talking, if you wouldn't believe it, for over an hour and 8 minutes. So I want to say thank you to everybody who watched us at home. I want to thank our panelists, Gail, Ellen, Alyse, Brian. Thank you so much for spending the day with us. Thanks for sharing the history of CM. You know, the where we are now, where we're going. The live streaming that's coming up. It starts tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Yep.
Set 3 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Yep.
So we're just so excited that we're able to offer this, and we would ask you to, keep, friends, neighbors, healthcare workers, everybody in your prayers. We want everyone to come home to their families safe and healthy. And I would ask the panel here for any last words before we all say goodbye.
Just God bless everybody. I'm hoping that you have an experience of Lent locked up in your house that is as powerful as possible, and looking forward to the joy of Easter Sunday.
And with that, everybody, thank you for joining CM Spotlight. We will be back again this coming Thursday talking with Broadway Tony Award winning sound designer Jessica Paz. And also this Wednesday at, I think at 8 o'clock, CM is launching its brand new CM Live, a cabaret series. So we look forward to seeing you in multiple different ways, and wish you all the best, and be well, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.